Ooh. Oh, that was a bad. I didn't expect it to go live. I was yawning. Oops. Sorry. Hi to anyone watching. Don't let the yawning and the fact that I'm so full of pizza right now. It's ridiculous. Don't let that fool you, viewers and players. That this won't be a high energy game of Spire. If you're watching this game was arranged through the Gauntlet. Find them at gauntlet-rpg.com, their community on the internet. Guess Together plays cool tabletop role-playing games. They've got a lot of stuff on their website. Check all that stuff out. There'll be a link down below. Yeah, the main thing is they have a Hangouts calendar. This game was arranged through that. This is part 2 of a 4-part series playing Spire, The City Must Fall, a game of mage punk, dark industrial fantasy, drow revolutionaries trying to take down a corrupt Alfear society, written by Grant Howitt and Christopher Taylor, published by Rowan Rook and Deckard. Links down below as always. Sulphurous Presses is a scenario from their most recent source book, Strata, written by Common Fullard, and it's a journalism scenario. This group is running a newspaper to try and capture opinion and use it against the elf fear. So let's get to know who these people are. We're gonna go reverse order the character keeper, so we can end with our guest star for this session. I'll go from right to left, and if you don't mind, introduce yourself. You the player, pronouns if applicable, and your character and cool thing they did last session. So let's start with Slavic.
Okay, all at once. Hi, my name is Sławek, and I use he, him pronouns. I've been with the Gauntlet for something like half a year now, and I've never played Spire before, except for last week. And tonight, I am going to be portraying Dot, they, them, who's a masked agent in this scenario. Dot is a particular drow who used to be a servant for a very, very long time, a servant to various masters, and as such, they are really accustomed to wearing different masks and blending into society as the masks describe who they are rather than them wearing their own identity. Who that is remains a mystery so far, and I'm happy to see where it goes, if it goes anywhere. Last session, Dot lurked around a party and managed to extract useful information from a general who was involved in a sort of drow punk carriage for officers who preferred to drive a pretty carriage rather than a functional one, which somehow became good enough to use against another what's it called, publication successfully. Yeah, and this session I hope we can double down on that and see where it goes.
God, yeah, that all the Dot snooping did manage to tank an entire publication. That was amazing. Up next, Robbie, tell us about yourself and our Inksmith, who I will get their name right this time, unless they manage to change it again and confuse me.
Okay, so my name is Robbie. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing a character named Vellurion, who is a inksmith. Prior to his current position, he had spent his durance as a personal assistant to a philanthropist, and philanthropist who is an Alfear named Vivian. He also has a connection with somebody named Drexer, who fences expensive stolen goods in Spire. I guess I don't know that I would take a whole lot of personal credit for this, but I did on the last session serve as the editor to the publication that was so devastating to one of our rivals. And we were, as I recall, rolling very well last session. Our dice rolls were really, and as the editor, I was making those dice rolls at the very end, which turned out quite well for us. So yes, I'm hopefully not going to jinx it, but I can't imagine that our session today will be necessarily quite as devastating to our rivals as perhaps it was last session.
Yeah, I actually look back at last session, and I did I shouldn't have let you get away with some stuff, but I did because I wanted to be nice. I probably shouldn't have said that, but no, that win is yours. You defeated this group. You had a very witty headline. I remember it being witty at the time, and no, it was fine. it was fine. It's fine. Okay. I'll tell you what I didn't why I let you get away with when we publish our next edition later. Up next, David, tell us about yourself and our Vermissian Sage. Oh God, this picture.
Hi, yeah, my name's David. I use he/him pronouns. Sorry, my chair just self-destructed briefly. So my I've been playing games with the Gauntlet for about a year now. And this evening I will be playing Montpellier, the Vermissian Sage. So the Vermissian is this weird semi-alternate dimension underground railway network that has been repurposed or parts of it have been repurposed as a library by renegade scholars. Montpellier is a member of this sort of loose affiliation of scholars, and in the halls of the Vermissian, they have sort of the secrets of civilizations long dead, histories, scientific research. Montpellier's speciality is getting dirt on people. He likes scandal and grubby secrets, and that is what his particular section of the Vermissian is dedicated to. He is along working for the Jester's Epitaph as as their sort of stringer and muckraker, digging up stories that people would prefer stayed buried. I think his greatest achievement last time was probably just generally being really sleazy and making the best of being at a high class sort of commerce exposition.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help. It didn't help that you were talking to a guy who was wearing a mask with the inscription "God is my judge" on it. You can't help but just be sleazy to idiots like that. And finally, our guest star for this session. Tell us about yourself, Ludo, and the person we're seeing today.
Hey, so I'm Ludo. I go by any pronouns, and I'll be playing Sarge Sapphire, and she goes by she, her. Sapphire performs her durance in the southern lands, battling against the gnolls, and because of her resourcefulness in scavenging and foraging, she was giving command over other dark elves, attaining the rank of sergeant. Once those 4 years were gone, she felt back into the slums and on the red markets around, as typical of veterans. Always exposed to that hellish sun. And when it's not the sun, it's whatever insane demon magic that the Elfir's commanders decide to use. And everyone knows that Elfirs, the further they get from the ice, tends to affect them So if things are bad in Spire, things can get really weird in the Sons of the South. So coming back, she was just on her way to become just another muscle for rent, drank or dragged in the streets, chasing the next high. But she fell in with some of her former unit that had taken to smuggle, and she was so good at it that she got the attention of the cult of the Blue God, and she joined the ranks of the Azurite. Now she started to be using commerce and the tides of money to alleviate the suffering of the drow of her community, especially other veterans. And she caught attention of the ministry, and she was sent to help the jesters to capitulate on their success as a financier. Now, in terms of bonds, my NPC bond is with Cynthia, a former member of her unit that now makes a living smuggling null goods. And my bond with other PCs is who you helped out of debt, say who and why they got into debt in the first place. I don't know if there is someone that thinks this fits.
I've got an idea of who this might fit. It's probably not the mysterious masked agent, or the, I don't know, the what looks like to be quite a law-abiding inksmith. I don't know. There might be, I don't know, a self-described sleaze monkey in this group who might have got into debt at some point. I don't even know if monkeys exist in this universe, but it's just a suggestion. If anyone else wants to take that thought.
Yeah. Why would you contract such big debt?
Oh, could be anything potentially. Yeah. What would be interesting? I think no, we'll just go with something fairly simple, like gambling debts. I think.
Are you gambling again?
Oh, definitely.
God. Can't believe like a guy like him has access to an interdimensional subway full of mystery and information. Anyway, before I kind of set up the opening scene and like recap what happened last session, let's talk about safety. Let's talk about the safety tools we're using for today. We've got usual lines and veils. There's a tab on the character keeper. Just remind folks to refresh themselves on what our lines and veils are. Lines are things that won't be crossed, won't show up in the fiction. Veils are things that can happen in fiction, but we're not going to concentrate on it. They can happen off screen, or we're going to fast forward over them, so to speak. We also have the X card. Basically, that means that if we do roll into a scene that makes folks uncomfortable for any reason, and it could be any reason, they can say they want to X card that either on the screen or in the chat. I try to keep an eye out if that happens. If it happens, I might ask some questions on what's being X carded, but no one gets the question if it's used. We'll start over and try something else if the X card is used. And finally, we have an open door policy. If for whatever reason you need to like step away from the table, whether there's an emergency, you're more tired than your thought, or at least in my case, my mom starts screaming about Roger Federer in the other room, and I have to go over there and tell her to like just shut up. He's a veteran. I get it. He's very good, but like, come on. You've been watching tennis for far too long. But then again, that's not my right to tell her how. I just have to keep it down. If that could happen, or you need to take a break for like 5 minutes or so. If anyone can call in a break at any time, and we can pause the game. All right. So last session, we kind of spent most of it like building our newspaper, the aforementioned Jester's Epitaph, just to remind folks that Y'all have an editorial stance of satirical, which means a scathing examination of the absurdity of the authorities. Your favorite domains are order, high society, and academia. Last session, you were all at a grand pageant of commerce run by, I think, the Chamber of Commerce. Let me look at my notes. Yes, the Grand Pageant of Commerce. Yes, the Chamber of Commerce, basically a place for all the high-and-tidy industrialists and business folk of Spire. Kind of show off what they're doing. That's where you kind of met most of the publishers for the different newspapers in Spire. Some of the folks you met include Verger, the Gracious Cliff Dweller, nope, not that one. Sorry, wrong, different one. No, sorry, that's the editor of Ambrosia. So many names on this list. No, you met the editor of the Silhouette, who is all about fashion to the point that her latest magazine was tattooed on her models. Amazing. You met the aforementioned guy with the God inscription, publisher of the Furnace. His name is Spire. He was quite sweaty. He told Montpellier about some juicy gossip about the publisher of the Torch and his drow bodyguard. The publisher of the Torch has a mechanical arm. And yeah, Dot winkled out info from the surgeon general, the publisher of the Tassel, about some hypocritical, not so great comments she made about another general in the military. And yeah, that was used to publish an edition. And that edition worked really well. It knocked out the Tassel as a rival publication, and that's how you got the academia domain. So yeah, that's basically how the scenario works. You're gonna gather info about your rival publications, try to write a witty headline, and put together an edition, make some rolls, see how it works. And yeah, I think it's kind of open at the start of the day.
One sec. Aren't we supposed to pick an advancement for our paper?
Oh, yes, you should. Let's see. Because you took down a difficulty 1 paper, and that's that means you can either have a medium or 2 low advances. And there's the list of them in the paper tab. Wanna have a look? Oh, these are some good advances. Can't wait to get the one where we can just declare someone dead. Folks seem to be looking at Scoop. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I felt like Scoop seems quite appropriate given last week, but there's some other cool stuff there as well.
What do you think, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean the Scoop seems pretty useful.
All right. Okay. That's a consensus. I'm going to put in Scoop. There we go. Once per session, your sources can tell you the leading story of a given competing publication. The first time you inflict stress to that competitor during the session, you dump. Oh, God. That sounds fairly powerful. Okay. So, yeah. Let's go. Let's say this is the start of a working day. And working days in newspaper is always very early. The sun hasn't come up yet, and probably folks are on their way to the office. Okay, I want to know what each character's demeanor is, and this is probably like the first time that folks are gonna meet like Sarge. This is probably like Sarge's first day. It's just like the ministry is like, yeah, go on and help these. They're doing quite well, the Jester's Epitaph, but so who do you think gets there first? Gets to the office first?
I think Dot might. Why not? It might even be the case that Dot lives there.
Oh, okay.
Takes some sort of a broom closet or a meeting room as accommodation.
I think you're woken up probably by the sound of someone like you know, unlocking the door, getting in. You can hear grumbling and the clatter of some very heavy footsteps. And yeah, you can hear like a voice just like muttering to themselves, just like, oh, yeah, I can't believe I have to clean up after these newspaper folk. And you can hear like bundles being shifted, and you hear someone walking towards the door and then coming back and dumping a lot of stuff on the table.
I reluctantly woke up and go see what the ruckus is all about. I'm just wearing my regular blank mask.
Yeah, it's one of the apprentices of your typesetter. I think the always tired one, Julienne. What she's doing, you notice that she is piling a bundle of newspapers on the table, and she sees you kind of coming down, and she's like, "Have any of you run a newspaper before?"
Why are you even making so much noise this early?
Because you all need to wake up, because this is how newspapers do. You get up early, you start looking through what everyone else is talking about, and then we get to work. You've never run a newspaper before, have you?
That's not how I remember our previous publication.
Well, that publication was trash, henceforth why you're in this new one.
I think you're trash and you have no right to talk to me like that. I closed the door.
Yeah, you just hear a scoff as more bundles of paper dumped on the table. Who gets to the office next?
I think actually Sarge might be checking the place. But she seems to be dragging her feet around, talking with the newsies. Who are our newsies? Are they draw or are they gutter snipes or?
They are mostly gutterkin, I'd say. Actually, you hold on. Let me roll some dice so I can see. Just for a thing. Okay. Just for folks, gutterkin are kind of like, I guess, the equivalent of goblins in this setting. They're kind of like, they got weird like animals like looks on them, kind of goblin-y. Okay, so yeah, you talk to a few. They're ready to go. There's one gutterkin. He's like he's a goblin type. He's wearing like an eye patch. He's about ready to go, but he's being accosted by okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at this table. Yeah, this laborer who's covered in like leathers, spattered in like Spire black, which is kind of like this ashy substance, and he's okay, hold on. And he's rambling. Sorry, this table I'm looking at is a Vox Pop table. So it's just a lot of ridiculous stuff. And he's talking about like his face is all covered, and again he's covered in muck, and you can hear him very loudly going, "Don't you think bees are a weird sort of creature? I mean, when you look at them in a holistic value, these little insects, they suck out, flower seeds, and then they process them flower seeds, and then they spit out this goo, this shiny golden goo. And then we take that goo, and then we paper it all over our bread, or make candy out of them. You just take bee goo. Like what? How does flower seeds even turn into golden golden goo. Can your paper tell me this? And your poor Gurrican, Newsy, is like, you know what? We might actually have something about honey in our latest edition. Just half of, just 2 pieces of silver, and your answers, your prayers will be answered. And he's like, well, if you ask me, it's all them demons' fault. Demons explain all this golden goo. I mean, after all, demons are created by gnolls, right? And you know what gnolls are? Gnolls are yellow. Henceforth, they exude the yellow and created, insect demons that process our flowers into goo. Is that what your paper says? And your newsy friend's like, no, 2 pieces of silver. And the poor laborer, he's not poor, he's just ridiculous, and forks over the silver. And then he turns to you, Sarge, and says, this I hope that this newspaper, sheds to light some obvious truths in the world, especially with them demon honey folk.
Are you talking perchance about the goo trails that the bees leave in the sky over the smog?
The goo trails? And he looks up at the sky. Which isn't much because you're in a tower city. You can barely see light, I guess.
Careful, it's a bit too early. The cursed sun is strong. Might even pierce the smog.
Goo trails. I'll be sure to arm myself with knowledge then. Good ma'am. I'll be sure to I better go. And he's gonna run off.
You know the weirdest thing about gnarl bee demons?
What's the weirdest thing?
Flowers don't even grow in the desert. Have a nice day.
Yeah, there's a big gas, and he's like, "Ma'am, you're my mind is being blown into proportions that I didn't even know I had. I have to let this percolate. Be seeing you, ma'am." And he's very sweaty, and he's just gonna run off. And your newsy friend is like, should I have sold him a paper, ma'am?
How much are you getting for paper sold?
My wage, ma'am. It's a good commission. It's like quarter of the price per paper sold. It's incentive, good incentive.
Yeah, maybe it's good incentive, but if that is what you have to deal with for it, you're being underpaid. I guess it must be all the smog. There's something for the brain. I recommend that you and your friends try to sell outside of the works.
Well, the thing is, ma'am, me and my friends, we're comfortable here in the works, but it's a bit of a risk for a little more coin, you know?
Huh? What is going on?
Well, things are getting a bit heated in and out of the works. Have you heard of this group? They call themselves Granite Column. They've been stirring up trouble near our haunts, ma'am.
Huh, Granite Column. Interesting. Have they only messed with you little ones?
Well, it's hard to see if they'll mess with anyone else, considering they're slogan kind of translates to a death to Gutterkin.
Oh, one of those groups.
Yeah, that's why I want me and my friends. We don't try to spread ourselves out. We watch each other's backs, ma'am, and we don't want to be caught out in case them folk come after us.
No, they should not. You know, I hate to say that, but that kind of thing, it makes the news. So maybe a few newsies find something going on. Feel free to tell the reporters of the Epitaph. I'm sure they'll send someone to check on that.
The guy gives you. I should describe him a bit more. He's a small, goblinoid boy, big bald head. His arms are quite long, and he's got like parallel scars on his head. So you can tell he has a bit of a tough birth. And yeah, I think he kind of strokes his chin as if he had the facial hair. He doesn't have facial hair. He wishes, and he's like, well, the Jester's Epitaph. That's your paper, right, ma'am?
Yes, I guess you cannot read what you're selling then.
I read fine enough. I just read what's important. And honestly, ma'am,
That's okay. That's okay. It's always good not to indulge on the merchandise that you're selling. It's just good praxis.
whatever you say, ma'am. Anyway, I have to get to work, but I'll pass the message along to my friends. If your journalist friends need some, talking to any one of us, tell them that Meathead spoke for them.
I will pass it along to the editor-in-chief, and I'll make sure that it goes down the chain of command. Move along, soldier.
He gives you a salute. He doesn't know that you're a soldier or not. But yeah, he gives you a salute and goes off with his day. All right. Who do you want to jump to next? Let's jump to. Hold on, I need to check the name because I messed it up so many times. Vellurion.
Yeah, I think, Vellurion, I imagine, usually arrives a little bit later, because I think that what Vellurion does on his way to the paper is he's carrying his notebook with him and kind of goes to contacts, or kind of is just on his way as he works his way to the newspaper. He checks in with people on the street that he knows, businesses along the way. Just tries to talk to people that not necessarily that they're close friends or anything, but just that know him, and kind of tries to get a sense of getting the pulse of what's going on in the works. If anybody's like gossiping about something or something,
This sounds like a roll. Actually, it's expansive enough that we can hit it with a roll for sure. This sounds like if it's around the area of the works, this is going to be low society. Investigate sounds a lot like it. Yep. And you get an extra D10 for luck, as in you start off with 1 D10 at investigate and low society. Yeah, and I think that's it.
All right, so I'm gonna. This is just to remind me. It's usually all D10. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to roll. So how many D10?
3. 1 because you always start off with 1. Right. 1 for investigate because you've got that, and 1 for low society because you're investigating in low society.
Right. I got a 9, a 5, and a 1.
All right. So you got a 9. So that means this is a success. Now let me ask: is there any particular like angle or like target you're working on that you want? And you can just straight up say like any one of your competitors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that, you know, the last session I was myself was going and investigating the silhouette. So, although if it's in the works, that doesn't necessarily
Yeah, no, the
make
silhouette won't be in the
sense.
works. Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, let me double check which papers would be at the works. Let's see. The furnace probably would be there. Yeah,
The Spiral Muse, maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Spiral Muse are weird. They do everything and just and just do whatever they want.
But
Okay.
you said the furnace, right? Was one.
Yes. All right. Let me look at actually the furnace stuff. Okay. Here is what you've heard as you're talking through. There is a actually no, I already gave that. Okay, actually, let me scroll up. No, my origin was giving you something about a tonic, but I already gave that to Montpellier, the tonic that the furnace guy has been drinking a lot. Ooh, okay. All right, here's what you're hearing. And you kind of get this while talking around a place near a place called the Uncanny Alley, because I don't know why they call it that. There's a professor there who's like a scientist, and he called it the Uncanny Alley, and people are like, "All right, fine, since you're staying there." Here's a rumor. There is a company called Prestige Palanquin. They're trying to develop a self-carrying palanquin. So like a palanquin is like you know those like things where like 4 people have to carry it and there's a person in the inside like that sort of thing. A company's trying to develop a self-carrying version of that. You know, automate their manufacture, eliminate like jobs and whatnot. And there's a rumor that, well, it's almost a confirmed rumor that this Prestige Palanquin is working with that professor of the Uncanny Alley, Professor Peabody, and to work on the self-carrying stuff. Now, when you kind of go around the alley, you see that and you talk around to the people there, there's rumblings that the alley and the company are going to be blockaded by this labor group, who you've been hearing quite a bit. Who you start talking to the folks and you hear that there's this labor organization that's starting to gear up. They've got a mysterious leader who has been quite scarce, but everyone knows that this labor group exists and starting to gear up to start protest, to like directly protest things. So that's kind of what you get.
And they're protesting because if this self-carrying palanquin became a reality, it would require less people to do kind of transport and things like that. Is that
that's 50% of it. The other 50% is that when you talk to like your friends or whatever, whoever's there, that it feels like it's going to be a harbinger for mass automation, because not only do they want to like create a self-carrying palanquin, they want to automate its manufacture. And this labor group, let me scroll down and find the name of this group. Actually, you're not going to get that yet. We're still a bit early on. So, there's going to be some sort of big protest staging quite soon.
Yeah, well, I would. Vellurion will be obviously excited about this, and I think when he gets that information, I think he takes down his notes and kind of is then working his way quickly to the Jester's Epitaph office, and comes kind of in, very excited, and says, I think we've got the beginnings of a story. And to the people who are there, will kind of briefly relay, right, that, on my way here, there's quite a buzz going on about the prestige palanquin, and things look like that might be a fruitful place for us to investigate, or at least devote some of our resources today.
Yeah, I was
A
gonna ask.
self-carrying palanquin. Why wouldn't palanquins already be self-carrying?
Well, normally you have to have people to lift them up, right? This is like the high class, the way that they like to sometimes make their way through the city and make a big deal about themselves as they put themselves in one of these, they're kind of like carriages, and have other people at their beck and call who are carrying them about.
And how is that not a carriage?
Because people are lifting it. Is that right? That this is the way that they work?
There would be no people, you're saying?
Well, if it was self-carrying, then yeah, there would be less people. People wouldn't be required to move these around. Then it would be kind of automated.
I can help, but I'm not entirely sure what the story is.
Well, the story is that we have a company that ultimately is going to put a lot of people out of business. And who we deal with in the works. People may not always like the job that they have to do, but if they don't, working at a job where at least you're getting something is better than being completely out of a job.
Okay, well, I understand. I'm just a grunt. I don't have to follow everything.
Well, and I think that our readership would be interested in the labor angle of the story. So I think it's at least worth pursuing a bit to see what we can find out. We need to kind of confirm things that in fact this kind of development is going on. We need to talk about the investigate the repercussions of it, see who all will be affected by it. And after all, it's another carriage story. I would think that you would be ecstatic about another story about carriages. The last one turned out so well.
What do you mean? Because I used to be a servant.
So yes,
it is all a bit insensitive. You realize that?
I'm sorry if I've offended you, but look, we're in the newspaper business now, and my newspaper nose tells me that there's something in this story that will turn out well for us.
I think at this point, Montpellier is going to have come into the. It's obviously been outside and just like steps in through the office door. He manages to both look like he's wearing a suit that's been slept in, whilst also not looking like he's slept himself. And has just like a cigarette hanging out the corner of his mouth. And he says, "If nothing else, I bet we can nail whoever's behind this with something really nasty." all these industrialist types have plenty of skeletons in their closet. All we need to do is dig them up.
Dot remains sort of on the sideline of the discussion. You can almost tell that Dot is offended, but not really. You're not entirely sure if it's a pose or whether it's actual feelings. Slowly blending into the wallpaper, kind of slowly becoming invisible.
Are you there, Sarge? Sarge, yeah.
I think this is the perfect moment for Sarge to step in. I see that there is a lot of bickering in the newspaper business. At least it's better to find you covered in ink than to drag you from ships. And that's right, Montpellier.
Yeah, well, it's journalistic. What's the name, isn't it? You've got to have a bit of a healthy debate if you want to ship the papers.
Oh, it seems that the paper must be doing very well with such a debate. Well, I'm here in name of you-know-who. It came to the attention of the people above that you are doing so well.
Wait, you're from the government. You represent Elfie. I knew not to trust your military persona.
What? And Sapphire looks down at the robes of the Low God. These little things. I come for. Our friends in the other faces of the moon.
Fine.
Now, it came to their attention that you might need financial help to expand your successful enterprise to capitalize in the success by taking one of your rivals with a bit of capital.
Oh, like expenses, and he's going to start turfing receipts out of his pockets into a little pile on the paper.
Now, that is outbalancing debt. I'm not here for that. I'm here for investment. And it came to my attention that your on the floor ground force is having a bit of trouble.
And you said you're here for an investment?
That's correct.
And who exactly is the source of this investment capital?
Well, me as a private individual, I'm free to invest the money that the god wants to see redistributed as it sees fit on the praises to Azure.
Well, as somebody who knows a little bit about the financial side of running a business, I'm always reluctant to take down I'm always reluctant to turn away anybody who comes up with an idea of investing in our enterprise.
That's good. So, what is that I've been hearing about protests and workers' problems?
Oh, just at least right now, it's not a story, but the possibility of a story that would be dealing with a company who ultimately would be putting a lot of workers out of a job.
Oh my. That is exactly the type of story that none of the other papers will publish. That is something that our friends on the other sides of the moon would like to see done.
And There's also, I guess, another target of this story, which would have to do with somebody. Well, this company is centered in Uncanny Alley, and it would be good to kind of find out exactly who all is behind this idea and who's calling the shots of it. And as our friend Montpellier points out, oftentimes entrepreneurs and capitalists and people running companies have skeletons that are worth snooping into.
Indeed, and I can help with that. Now, you speak a lot about worker anxiety. It seems it's not only worker anxiety because of the automation, is it? I was talking with your delightful employees outside, and it seems that they have been suffering of anxiety of their own. You know, Gutterkins, they are cheaper than draw labor, and I'm afraid that they have been victim of hateful violence, and this might not be the highest preoccupation for everyone else, but I find that the same sentiment that is raised against the capitalists that want to exploit the workers through automatization can be used by the other newspapers by blaming the Gutterkin for the problems of the draw worker. And I think we must pay attention to that development should we not allow our enemies to profit from their abuse of our people.
Do you realize that we are satirical newspaper?
Oh, yes. And do you know anything more satirical than the absurdism of being oppressed by the Elfir and blaming poor Gutterkin from this? It's it is poor black comedy.
I don't really have a comeback. It's actually quite funny.
It is if it was not happening. But alas, that's Spire.
All right. I think yeah, we'll probably close on that scene. So here's something else before you go into things. The newspapers Julian were carrying in, because I think they're your rivals publications. Basically, if you want to know what stories they're publishing, you can just ask, and poor overworked Julian will go through them for you, and you don't have to read them yourself. Yeah, so that's another like resource you can tap into before you're like, because the thing is, yeah, there's some good stories that you're looking into, but the point of the at the end of the day, you have to like target rival publications. And the point of investigating these plot threads is that they most likely, well, the way the scenario is set up, they will lead towards your publication, your rivals. So keep that in mind when we're assembling our editions later. So it's good to know, like, yeah, what are they publishing as well. So that's another resource. But we have been here for an hour. Let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and see where you all want to go. BRB.
So a question about the word gutterkin. Is this a word that that we would typically use, or is this like a term that it's mainly like the Alfair term that would be used for just kind of grouping together various undesirables?
Let me double check that, but I'm pretty sure it is like a specific term. It's a specific catch-all term for. Let me double check. Here we go. Yeah, it's a catch-all term for like weird genetic throwback. So they're not exactly one race. They're just like anyone that kind of don't fit in. Like there's that description there that David put in the chat. Yeah, needle-toothed rat boys, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if it's the Alfiro came with a term. Like officially they're called aberrants, but in the city they're known, and amongst themselves they're known as gutterkin. They are kind of like I want to say icing on the poorest strata of Spire, so to speak. They're kind of the goblin types. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Montpellier because I don't think I got to ask him what he wanted to do. So you kind of have, so there's at least like two leads to like look at, or at least two stories that are percolating. There's the one of the Gutterkin being targeted by this group called Granite Column, or there's this palanquin, this self-automated palanquin being worked on by Prestige Palanquin, and they're goings on an uncanny alley. But where do you want to do Montpellier?
I think, Montpellier is going to focus on the Palanquin company, probably specifically the actual either the sort of the directors or the head of this research department, that sort of thing. I think that's where he's going to focus his attentions on trying to dig up stuff about them.
Okay, so not to like push people, but I remind folks again: look at what your rivals are publishing. But yeah, where do you want to start then? Actually, I'll ask everyone what kind of they're aiming for, what they want to do. So that's what Montpellier wants to do. Dot, what do you want to do?
Dot's a bit aimless at the moment, but I think they would prefer to reconnect with their old friends, servants of the current masters, and see if there's anything juicy coming out of this, or maybe some sort of a connection to the story we're pursuing at the moment.
Okay, so that's what Dot's up to. Vellurion, what do you want to look into?
I think Vellurion would do some follow-up with, okay, we've heard this story about the self-carrying palanquin, and I guess I would want to have a quick look at Q, the engineering periodical, and also the Chronicle, business people. Those two in particular, because those are the ones that might have some, if there's any kind of related stories that are appearing in there, because this is kind of like a business enterprise type story. So I kind of try to get a little sense of what the engineering and the business periodicals are digging up today.
Okay, I'll give you those now because they're fairly quick, because those newspapers are at your office. So the latest from Q periodical, it's you'd think they'd be doing something like looking into technology, whatnot, but on the cover is an advertisement. It's a very blatant advertisement for Professor Peabody. He is a human retro engineer. And there's a stained like portrait on the cover of Q, where Professor Peabody declares that he's opening a new diner, basically. It's called the Horn and Hearth Nujabi Automat, and its big selling point is that it's got an automated chef. That's here we go. And he is talking profusely in the periodical about the benefits of automation and how it'll benefit like the service industry. It's kind of that's the detail you pick up from Q. It is a very blatant advertisement. He's opening a diner. It's opening today, actually. And yeah, it's got a very nice brass chef. For the Chronicle, which it's all about business. There is an investigative story going on. There's several investigative stories going on at the moment. You look at the stuff; it's all kind of like boring business stuff, but obviously in a way that makes like probably what the Alfir are doing, which are cold-blooded slavery and whatnot, makes it sound really boring by talking about investments and percentages and dividends and all that. But you do get like there's some investigative stuff that they've been doing. The main one is that there is a bit of a profile on this political group called Granite Column. And this political group is, interesting enough, the Chronicle picked up that this is not an Alfir-led political group, this is a Drow-led political group. And that they're negotiating with a company called Ptolemy Bay for weapons. And this is like picked up on this is like accounts that the Chronicle managed to pick up. So those are like the two stories you got. Their rivals are publishing. So I kind of think over that. I'll cut to Sarge. What does Sarge want to do?
So Sarge is very curious about the Granite Column, and she's figuring that an organization like that, there's two alternatives. They either are connected to crime or someone is financing them. And they set up to discover if they actually have connections to the Wonderworld or if there is anyone that is using them to spread hatred and fear and violence. Maybe, give an excuse for the police to crack down on this place and bang some union-forming workers. I don't know. Worth exploring.
Yeah, definitely worth exploring. Okay, let's go through the order again. So Montpellier, you want to investigate more into the Prestige Palanquin. Maybe go to the Uncanny Alley. That was the deliberate name. Dot, you want to reconnect with your friends. Fair enough. Who want to reconnect with their friends? They might have some interesting stories about what's happening in the works. Vellurion, you're doing your research and looking at what others are publishing. Found some tidbits on Professor Peabody and Granite Column. Speaking of Granite Column, that's where Sarge is focusing. Okay, cool. Let's go to Montpellier. What? How are you like investigation? Where are you going?
I'm just thinking if I want to. Yeah, I think that I will. I will head, I think, to the Vermissian, and basically going to start trawling my files and some of the other records down there to find out who is behind this Prestige Palanquin company, and if I can find any more information about who they are and what they do.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's compile this. So actually, describe to me how you get to the Vermisian.
Yeah. So I think this this is kind of this is the route Montpellier sort of usually takes. It's kind of just one his sort of standard entrance. It's in the works, not a few streets away, probably from our office, and it's one of those. There's by like a big brick building. There's one of those sort of sunken basement courtyard things. Just an iron spiral staircase that goes down it. He goes down there, goes down this iron staircase, and there's just like a grate in one wall, a sort of metal gate. It looks rusted shut. But when he takes out a key from inside his pocket, which is also looks similarly rusty, and he turns it in the keyhole, or at least puts it into the keyhole, and goes to turn it, and then he just vanishes and appears in the Vermisian.
Nice. Okay, so let's do this research roll. Since you're in the vault in the Vermisian, you got the informational resources of the sages. Yeah, you can perform an investigate check on any subject. So you want to learn about Prestige Palanquin.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, all right. So 1d10 for luck. Investigate, you've got that.
Yep.
Technology for sure. And I'm assuming that Knack's scurrilous gossip is going to be a part of this.
Probably not this one. I wouldn't have said, because this is more like looking for the what's on record, I guess, rather than that more ephemeral stuff.
Fair enough. All right, yeah. So let's do 3d10. I will say though, this will be a difficulty of 1.
Sure thing.
Because it's a bit tricky to use like the Vermisian to figure out this sort of thing, and whoever's behind Prestige Palanquin will be covering their tracks quite a bit.
Sure thing.
All right, so that's a 2d10.
So what does difficulty 1 means? I drop my highest, is it, or
you take 1 less die?
Oh, right, yeah,
one
sure
less
thing.
Yeah, you have 1 less die in your pool. Difficulty only goes up to 2, thankfully. But yeah, if action is a difficulty of 1, it means you have 1 less die in your dice pool.
That's a 6 is my highest.
Okay, so a 6 is a success at a cost. Okay, so describe me, how are you doing this research in the Vermisian?
So yeah, I think we see, as he appears into the Vermisian, he's in a sort of tiled corridor that is kind of almost like slightly organic. So the tiles look like regular tiles, but there's an organic feel to it. The tunnel's kind of rounded and twists. It doesn't go like a straight line like you might expect. It looks more like kind of the like veins in an arm or something. And he wanders along into his office, which looks pretty much like you'd expect. There's papers everywhere, half empty coffee mugs on every available surface. And I think he starts to look through, but you see, even though like the papers are kind of all over the place, he clearly knows where stuff is in here, and pulls out like a big stack of like a sort of business listings directory and starts leafing through that and checking off names, and sort of just again going to what seem like completely random stacks of paper, but just pulling out like a single sheet out from this middle of the stack and referencing it.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. 6 is a success at a cost, so you'll get what you're looking for, but there's going to be a cost. So here's what happens. You pull a stack, you pull a paper from the stack, and the the stack of paper is gonna, it's quite comical. It's gonna fall on you, and it's gonna push you down. And you didn't know there was a door on your floor. Well, it wasn't there yesterday, but it's there now. So you crash through the door, and you end up at this like, it's this kind of dark, cramped room. The door is still open, and all your papers have kind of fallen into this room, and the only light is coming from the door that you fell into, and you see that there's like this room is like a small storage room, and you see kind of like nestled next to like the door to your right are these 3 canisters. Each of them are on 3 wheels. They're tall, black, cylindrical canisters. And you can see, rather dorkily, they've been stenciled property of Professor Peabody. And these 3 canisters on these 3 wheels turn to look at you. And here's the thing you see as well. On top of the canister are these like humanoid-looking mechanical arms. You're gonna take some stress for me.
Sure thing.
You're gonna take some mind stress. Roll me a d6. Thankfully, your mind stress is really good.
That's a 1.
All right, there we go. Yeah, you're fine. You don't even take any stress because you have resistance of 4. So you take 0 stress. So, okay, yeah. So, yeah. What was Montpellier's reaction to this? As these 3 canisters going to start wheeling towards you slowly, waving and grabbing their arms.
Oh, hello there. I do apologize for dropping in unexpectedly. I'll just gather my things, and he's going to start scooping papers up into his arms. You just no, it's all right. You can, no need to help. I can manage myself. Do you have a ladder at all? He's going to kind of look around the room.
You can't see a ladder. You do see, though, on the far left, there are like just a bit more of those canisters, but look like they're in assembly mode. So some of them are missing wheels, some of them they're all on this table. There's just these 3 are just kind of like, yeah, they're slowly like wheeling their way towards you. And you can hear like a small, teeny like screech kind of coming into your ear, coming out the other ear as these 3 canisters kind of like wheel their way towards you. They don't respond to your patter.
Well, I guess I'll just try and get up back where I came from. I'm going to try and scramble up. If not, I'm going to start looking around for another door to get out of here.
Yeah, I think the door is still open. You can totally like scramble back up. I don't think there's a role because you still succeeded. So I wasn't gonna like put you in a horrible situation. Like I said, these 3 were moving slowly at you, so you can like scramble up and close the door behind you.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that answers well, I don't know if it answers any questions, but that was a thing you saw.
Cool.
Okay, let's go to Dot. Dot, you want to talk to your friends?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what they could be at the moment.
Yeah.
Do the drows that are on during endurance get time off? I'm not sure how much slavery and how much job it is.
It depends on their master. You know this master since they were used to be yours. Do you think they'd give you time off?
Well, perhaps if you're being, perhaps you could be rewarded with time off. I imagine.
Okay. Which one of your friends is most likely to be rewarded time off?
I think the one. I forgot the names. I think the scribe Aika might be the one who perhaps was particularly useful during some sort of a business transaction or whatever, and was given a day off to, say, do her own things in the market or something like that.
Okay, where do you meet Aika then?
I think I would just accompany Aika to the markets. It seems like such a casual and also productive scenario where I can just do things with her.
Okay, all right. So let's see. I think this is up at the nicer part of Spire. This is at Silver Quarter, where it's all just a bit nicer, but you can clearly see like. I think you can. Yeah, Aika's kind of there because this is the market she's used to, and she's talking about how. What's Aika like? Actually, tell me what's Aika like.
So this is a hardworking, self-taught achiever. If you can even apply those terms to a drow during endurance. But she strives to have the best handwriting of all the scribes, and she's employed not just because she can write stuff down, but also because she does so masterfully. She can write invitations. It's beautiful. You've never saw anything like that. But her appearance, absolutely forgettable. Just plain rough-spun scribe's clothes. You're thinking linen and sort of woolen coat, maybe. All but haggard, uncouth, messy hair, pointy nose, small face. She's constantly squinting her eyes because she's nearsighted from all the writing.
Yeah, I think as you kind of accompany her, she is like speaking. She's saying a lot of rapid fire stuff as she's noting stuff on her notepad. Even though it's her day off, she's absolutely doesn't look like she's taking a day off, and she's kind of like, Uncle Jeremiah is looking for more oysters because that's kind of what he likes on the weekends. But I've told him that as much as Master Ilio is quite decent enough to give us a bit of a salary, oysters eat up quite a bit of the budget, and he can't be having a delicacy like that every weekend. It's just wasteful. And it makes him temperamental. And and I've already told you how my uncle can be quite temperamental. Anyway, we're thinking of giving him like this substitute, like goat oysters. It's the new fad here in the market. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous, but I've been told that one needs to branch out a bit more. And frankly, my uncle can deal with some goat oyster or goister, as I've heard it been told, and I'm sure he'll be fine. But all right, I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but there's only one place on a goat that could potentially produce an oyster. I just can't handle it.
Okay.
I do apologize.
No worries.
Weren't you supposed to take time for yourself? Between your master and your uncle, where's you in the equation?
When so many people are relying on you, that when you calculate the equation, you kind of have to eliminate certain people. And
it's not healthy for you. You should branch out and try other things.
Like what? I don't know about you, Dot, but I'm still in the middle of working my durance. It's hard to figure out what to branch out and do at the moment.
Well, you are perfectly equipped for when you want to complete your durance. You just need to embrace the thought.
So I said it again.
I'm a servant. I don't know anything else. I've never had another skill, and now I'm in the newspaper. The one.
Wait, which one? Don't tell me if you're working for the furnace. I swear, don't tell anyone about my uncle's goister problems.
No, I'm with the Jester.
Oh, yeah, the Jester's Epitaph. You're working for the Jester's Epitaph. What do you do there?
Oh, not much. I just listen. But you can
Well-
imagine that. I can imagine that there will be place for you. You know, come your time. After all, if when it comes to writing,
Well, I think she kind of looks around and she she flips through her notepad and she looks at the page she's flipped to, and she's like, well, I do try to find time when I can. Only little bits, maybe one night in a couple, or an hour in between 5 or 6. But sometimes I do write. There's Spire has some fantastic writers. There's this one I dearly wish I could meet. I don't know if you know her. Her name's like Camille. She writes this like incredible serialized fiction. It's heart stopping.
it was
Really.
supposed to be a webcomic, wasn't it?
Sorry, say that again.
In character, I think it was some sort of a webcomic.
Yes. Yeah. It's. I think you kind of see like all the seriousness kind of bleed away for a moment. She's gonna really like she really likes this Camille, and she'll start talking about this comic and the characters and who she ships, and then she realizes what she's talking about. She's talking with the same passion, but I can't repeat that passion because I don't want to speak for what Camille writes. That's Scott's purview. But yeah, you get a sense that your friend's like really excited about this.
Look, I think it would be time for you to think of something for yourself. And as a matter of fact, I am looking for a couple pieces of writing. Maybe you could have a go.
I mean, I write not what. Just knowing me as a person, what would you think I would have written about? What would I write about?
Something stupid and absurd like self-carrying carriage. Or self-carrying palanquin. That's even better.
Do you know you're not the first person to mention a self-carrying palanquin at me lately? It's the most ridiculous idea.
How come?
Here I'm gonna have to roll because I have to roll an NPC bond. See how much she knows. Oh, that's went really well. That's disgustingly well. So and she kind of leans down and it's like, so I'm not meant to know this, but given I'm Master Iliu's private scribe, a lot of info goes through me. There's a group. What do they call themselves? She flips through her notes while I flip through my notes. They're called the Solidarity of Skilled and Unskilled Laboring Drow. Sosuld, they're called. And there's been whisperings are about to stage something big. And okay, I can tell you this, Dot. You and actually, you know what? No, I'll tell you this, and if you want to use it for your work, that's fine. Just don't. If you're working in a newspaper, you know what about journalist discretion,
Anyone
right?
else who could leak this, except for you?
Oh, I can leak this for you right now. It's perfectly fine.
No. Is there
Oh.
anybody else who could leak this except for you, or are you going to be the go-to suspect?
It should be fine. The thing with this group is that they're gonna become big soon. So whatever I know, it's gonna be public knowledge quite soon. But you'll have a head start.
Great. I don't actually expect you to tell me anything. If I could choose, I would say I'd prefer you to write it for me. What do you think?
Well, I do only have like a few months left on my durance. I think she's torn. You
Please
might
say
have.
yes.
Let me see. Let me look at your. So you might have to roll to try and convince her.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
you said she's hardworking and
Mm.
bit no nonsense. All right. So 1 for luck. You're totally compelling her. You work in high society, the both of you. It feels like.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, I think I have both. No, I don't only have high. Okay.
You don't have compel? I thought you did.
I have compel and I have high society.
Yeah. Okay. So you have both a skill and a domain.
Mhm.
So you have 3d10, and this is like, I remember how last week I was like, oh, bonds are just they're decorative. No, it actually does something.
Mhm.
Once per situation, when you act in a way that benefits someone you share a bond with, you may do so with mastery. This is totally in a situation where she might benefit from getting to do this thing. So that
I
means you
think
get an
key word is might.
might.
Might
Yeah,
blow
might.
up in the face, or it might make her.
We'll see. But that means you get to roll with an extra die. That's what with mastery means. So you have 4d10.
How many is it now?
4.
Okay.
That's the highest one can go, and you'll take the highest.
Oh crap! I've got the green dice, which is 2, 3, 5, 9.
Oh, that's good. 9 is a success. So don't worry. 9 is a success. So she kind of like, okay, all right, okay, I'll do it. I wrote a 10 on that MC bond. So like, I even have like straight from the source. If you want to talk to the leader of so, I mean, I'll talk to her, and I'll write something if you'd like. If you think that would help.
But we're a periodical, so I'm afraid you will have to spend the majority of your day off writing it, because I will need it by, say, sundown.
Way ahead of you. And she flips back to her notepad and crosses off goisters. And she gives you she probably doesn't have many genuine smiles that she's giving you, but this is a big, proper, genuine smile. And she barely just resists giving you a hug. But
So Dot takes the I'm not sure what she would write with. I imagine some sort of a fountain pen.
Mhm.
Takes the fountain pen and with the most jovial gesture just draws a smile on their mask and hands back.
yeah. Oh yeah, she would be masked. Nice. Okay. So, all right. So we'll deal with the consequences of that later. There won't be any tough consequences because y'all keep rolling successes. But that's great. Okay, Vellurion. So you've got some leads. Where do you want to go?
If before leaving the newspaper office, if Sarge is still there, I probably would, because I had been kind of looking at the newspapers, and Sarge has mentioned the granite column, and I could imagine Vellurion down, looking quickly through the headlines and stuff, and says, "The granite column, Sarge. There's a story in the Chronicle that touches on the granite column."
Oh, it's not that bit weird? I thought the column actually was for good people. Why would they be interested on that?
Well, at least what it says here, they've been negotiating with a group to purchase weapons.
And I wonder who is giving them the money in the first place to make that purchase. It seems to be that the Chronicle protests a bit too much. If they are publishing They probably know the seller and the buyer.
Well, they mention Ptolemy Bay as the group that they're negotiating with.
Well, it makes sense, but I don't know. The connections between Ptolemy May and our mistress underneath are a bit iffy, but I think our connections within the church might help us look into Ptolemy Bay.
The just out of character, this publication, is this publication run by the Drow?
The Chronicle? No. Okay. Here, let's say that probably like you get this information from, let's see, let's keep picking on Julianne because she seems to know quite a bit about newspapers. You probably mentioned that, and she says that like, Chronicle's owned by some Alfear bloke. His name is Hour of the Broad Valley. He's really rich. He is horribly rich, and he's apparently a noble person. He's apparently really rich. He loves money, but he doesn't love like acquiring money. He loves making money flow. At least that's what my friends told me. I don't know. So no, they won't. If the Chronicle are publishing this sort of story, it's probably to take out their rivals as well. And you're not the only publications out here gunning for each other.
Indeed. Well, and from my experience working on the markets, the Chronicle is usually where the Alfir get the ideas of what it makes a good investment, and then their actual human and drow intermediaries, then they have to sweat to make those deals actually work. They don't seem to understand the purpose of economics very well. They only think about getting rich.
Well, it must be working since they are rich.
Well, yes, but again, it's working at the expense of everyone else. That is not the purpose of an economic system. That makes the Azure God so upset.
Just kind of gives you a look like, oh, great. Wow, religious folk. So what's the plan here? Well, what are the two? It sounds like the two of you are teaming up to do something.
Yeah, I think if we can send, I don't know, who's the contacts in the ministry to get more information on the seller side, we will delegate that, and then we will investigate the part that probably the ministry does not know about. So who is financing the column? I think that's a good strategy to attack both fronts. I don't know what Robert says.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. I think we definitely have a little bit of a lead on this group. And am I correct that it's called Ptolemy Bay? Is that?
Yeah, Ptolemy Bay are kind of the ones that the Granite Colony are negotiating. Ptolemy Bay are the
Suppliers?
Selling weapons? Yes, suppliers.
They're the suppliers. So Sarge, if we wanted to pursue this, maybe one of us should try to see what we can dig up with respect to Ptolemy Bay, and then the other one maybe could try to get some information as to where the Granite Column might be getting the money. Because it sounds like Granite Column on its own, I mean, maybe they have some source of money, but I think it's also likely that there's a group or something that might be supplying these funds.
Come on, they are draw workers. How much money they can have?
Exactly.
And Sarge starts measuring Vellurion up and down, trying to figure out which task they might do better.
Valeria, do you notice this measuring up on you?
I mean, Sarge is not being subtle. It's like she's appraising what she's buying.
I think Vellurion, when you're kind of looking at Vellurion, he just I think gives you a kind of stoic stare back and says, "Well, Sarge, what do you want your move to be?"
Well, money is my business and my religion. But do you think you can hold yourself on a gun warehouse?
I have contacts many places. So before I started working at the paper, I was the personal assistant of a wealthy philanthropist, and I still maintain some contacts. But I mean, I'm also certainly somebody who has contacts in other places as well. I do know people who deal with illegal goods and things of that sort. Not that I myself would ever have such dealings myself, but I know of people who traffic in illegal goods, and those people might have some information.
Of course, of course. Well, I think I'm gonna leave our editor-in-chief to make the call on how to approach Ptolemy Bay. Do you mind if I take these? And she reaches for the torch and for the liberate. This might be useful for me as a cover.
Sure. I tell you what. Why don't I do my focus work on Ptolemy Bay and see what I can find out about that group and the negotiations that are going on with the granite column. And then you can maybe try to sniff around to see where the money might be coming from.
I like that deal. I would rather not see a gun again in my lifetime. Good luck, editor.
What is up with the tension here? Jesus, you're all co-workers. What? Okay.
There's money involved. There's always tension.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Let's cover. Let's see. I forgot. Actually, we've reached another hour. Let's take another 5-minute break, and then I think we'll start with Vellurion, and then we'll see where we go from there. Get back to Montpellier, maybe. All right, 5 minutes. BRB.
Okay.
I think we're all back.
Fab. All right. Sorry, I was looking at a different tab. Okay. So here's how we're gonna go. I'm gonna go to Montpellier first, then to Vellurion, then to Dot, and then to Sarge. I just realized that's not your first name. That is just your it should be Saphir, but everyone calls you Sarge. Okay. So Montpellier, what are you up to? You just had a bit of a detour. What are you up to now?
Yeah, so I think Montpellier is going to scramble back up into his office, close the door, and it just takes out like his notebook, just scrolls down Peabody dash brains in jars, and puts that back in his pocket, and then he's going to head back to the street, I think, for now. Yeah, he's basically going to head to the uncanny alley and ask around about what's going on over there.
Okay, so the uncanny alley is well, the first thing you notice that like it's a bit of a damp, dank place. It's oh, there's a table here. I should roll on. Give me a sec while I look up. There we go. Okay, so you walk down to this again, it's a dark alley. It's lit. It's still like it's afternoon, but it's lit with like gas lamps as you kind of walk down this neighborhood. There is just a few passerby going on. It looks like if you transplanted a Victorian era London street into Spire. That's kind of like the vibe this place has. There's like you can hear like the background radiation of whispering around you. The biggest source of like light you see is a big sign that's putting off some magic neon. Yeah, I think that's what it is, magic neon. And yeah, it says Professor Peabody's study of life laboratory. And you see like a bunch of like there are like one or two folks in one or two like folks in hoods kind of like hanging around the place, and you can kind of hear like just a bit of a strange whisper. It's like this place kind of feels like it's on the edge of reality. It's kind of like being in the Vermisian, I'd say.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to underline that brains in jars bit in my notebook. But I'm going to have a look around. Is there like a pub or a coffee shop or similar around here?
There is. Let me look up my notes again. Sorry, I got a lot of notes. There is a speakeasy nearby. There's one called the Tin Man. It's it's quite nearby. Crooked sign. It's a bit of a there's a bit of a hubbub inside. Yeah, there's a pub there.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to head into the pub. Sit down at the bar and order a beer.
All right. I think you get your beer. The vibe in this pub is quite actually, I'll say right now, there's not many people in this pub. The vibe is quite like it's like business has been driven away. And yeah, the bartender who is a drow, she's got like half a mask on because she's being artistic. And she says, well, there's something we don't see around here in this alley. new face. What brings you to our little spot of Spire, stranger?
Well, I was actually I'm here researching for a human interest piece on the goings on in Uncanny Alley for a newspaper.
Well, I don't know what sort of humans would be interested in a place like this, sir, but it's not like there's much else to do here, I guess. What sort of piece are you looking into?
Well, just a general look at the movers and shakers in the works. I was wondering if the professor was a regular in here.
This is either a roll or you're applying a move on this bartender. I'm not sure. You can use your find connection to connect this this bartender to professor.
I could, yeah.
Jesus, that's a powerful move.
Yeah, I think I will. Say there is some connection between this bartender and the professor.
I think her eye, because she's wearing half a mask, her eye kind of like angrily like flashes, and she says, oh, "This better not be some puff piece about that damn professor. You get my drift, sir."
Oh, I'm not really the puff piece sort. I'm more what you might call, a hatchet man.
I'll drink to that. Our dear Professor Peabody. He's relatively new to this place, but and she kind of like self-consciously like rubs an arm, and she says, "But once he set up shop, he promised a lot of hoo-ha. He promised a lot of hooey. He said he'd bring a bit of flash, a bit more commerce to this place through science. Now, I don't know how the hell you do that through science and technology, but that's what he promised. And a lot of folks, they fell for it. A lot of folks, including, my dear Guinevere. The professor offers... Well, the professor offered a lot of dreams. And as soon as he started offering those dreams, well, Uncanny Alley started getting a bit darker and more empty.
I see. So you're saying he's having a fairly negative influence on this here area. Do you know anything in particular that he might be up to? Anything he might have his fingers in?
I say you go take a good look at that diner of his. I've had some of his assistants on his here Thin Man Speakeasy, and they've, well, under a bit of influence of Malak or Five, they've intimated that place has got, short of breaking into his lab, that place has got all that you need.
Oh, interesting. Well, thank you. And what about the man himself? What's he like? What's he into?
He's a man who never shuts up. That's for sure. Like I said, my dear Guinevere brought me to meet him when she was getting her opportunity, and that's a man who would not stop asking questions. He kept asking me, like, Why is my face like this? Why do I wear this mask? Why are my eyes purple? Why is my hair this exact shade? All sorts of ridiculous questions.
Yeah, sounds like a right prick. So you obviously have some history with him. What happened with your Guinevere and this professor?
Well, it's blatantly transparent what happened. My dear Guinevere started volunteering in the labs. She works with. She only just got out of her durance lately, and so she's been working quite hard. And I thought, Spire just gets you. That's what I thought happened. Just Spire just gets you. You must know some folk who are like just go to bed and just stay there. And I thought, my dear Guinevere, who's been through a lot, that's what happened to her. But then I found out the next day, as soon as she stayed at her bed, that whatever's left was signed over to him, to Professor Peabody. And so he sent his thugs, his little lab assistants, to pick her up when she wasn't even a day gone. And he doesn't deserve... My dear Guinevere deserved a better resting place than whatever the hell he's got planned.
Yeah, does sound like a nasty bit of business. Well, I'm sorry for your loss and all that, and but this will make this will definitely give me something to work with. I'm sure we can bring him down a peg or two.
You called yourself a hatchet man, sir. Well, you better swing that hatchet good. Swing that hatchet good and right and proper right into his stupid face. So he can stop asking stupid questions. And maybe we'll get some peace around this place.
I'll see what I can do.
I think she smiles. She smiles, but it's like it's a smile. She's really it's an attempt. And she gives you another round.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's probably the scene for me.
Let's see. What did I say? Actually, since this is like your one session, and let's cut to you. See what you're doing.
So I had this picture of Sapphire standing in front of the closest shrine to the Masterless Mask, with the torch pamphlet on one hand, but then there is the Liberate pamphlet poking out, and she's making a very poor job at hiding it. Just so it seems that she's hiding it, and she's occasionally suspensefully reading at it while keeping a look into the people that come in and out of the shrine to curse their boss or to speak ill of their co-workers and whatnot, because she figures that the granite column probably arrived to the same conclusion as she did, that these, if you are looking for malcontent workers to radicalize, this is probably a great recruitment place. And she's keeping an eye out, not pretending to be disguising her radical intentions, looking out for people, and trying to see if someone is doing some recruitment.
Okay. Is this a specific move, or do you think it's just a roll?
No, I have specific moves, but they need me already to have an NPC.
Okay, all right. I'll give you an NPC then. I think. Okay, so you're trying to make yourself. You're making yourself into a mark. I think that's what it is. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think you see. Oh, here we go. I think you probably wouldn't have noticed them before, but since you're on the lookout, you notice them. There's these two like tall-looking thugs. They've got like tank tops and like Spire tattoos over them, but they've got this like back and front Alfear masks on. You can tell they're drow because they've got tank tops because they want to look buff, I guess. They want to show off being buff. And yeah, so they got tattoos. They got these front and back like Alfear masks. I think they're in the shape of like bearded old men, front and back, and they've got these like tin helmets on. And on the tin helmets it says Granite Column.
No subtle at all, it seems.
Oh no, they've become less. You all picked the right time to like start looking at these folks because they're starting to become less subtle.
Yeah, they are no longer afraid, it seems. So as that happens, so they are, because they are so obvious, I think I can, unless they approach me before, I think I can use Earth's Desire and figure out what they want most of anything right now.
Okay, so all right, I think they actually have different masks. One of them has a bearded humanoid green face. The other one is more like a very smooth granite column, so to speak. Actually, it doesn't matter which one you pick. You recognize the one with the bearded mask, judging from his rose spire tattoo on his left bicep. This guy's name is Gaz. And you know that he's someone who's kind of on the hawk for having bought a lot of malak, and malak is a type of drug in Spire, for those who don't know. So what he really wants right now is, you can see he's tense and he's annoyed. So what he really wants is for whatever the two of them are off to do, this whatever transaction, whatever. He wants it to just get it done as soon as possible. Then he can go home and I don't know, kick a wall or get his frustrations out another way. And that's what you get.
So Sapphire tries to look the least anarch she can as she approaches, and then she just whispers, "Hey, comrade, you know what really takes the edge after a long day of work? The breakfast of the homelands? That would be really nice."
Gaz looks at you and says, "Sorry, what?"
Come on, what the Alfir don't let us have.
He cocks his head. Tell me, what are you trying to do here? I want to know.
So basically, it's like, hey, do you have any weed? I'm totally not a cop.
Yeah, you're kind of interrupting. This would be a bit of a role. Here, you're kind of interrupting them as they're working. Yeah, deceive, totally.
Yeah, which domain?
Low society. You're still kind of in the works.
Okay, so I have 3 dice.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a 9.
Well, no one fails in this system. I've realized now. I've played Spire enough times. Like, no one fails in the D10s. Okay. So yeah, Gaz kind of like looks confused, but the person next to him, who you recognize from the rose spire tattoo on his right bicep, this one's name is Daz. And he's like, well, we wouldn't mind. We're about to do another bloody work day or two. We wouldn't mind having a cut or two of what you're selling.
Oh, I wish I was selling, comrade. I'm looking for it myself.
Ugh.
We were not made to be working these type of hours without even something, just a little something to cut the edge of the pain. And it was even worse in the south. There, even if you were allowed, you could not find any good of that good dank breakfast on lands.
Gaz looks confused because he just wanted to do and get this done, but Daz is like, yeah, no, I totally get it. What you'd think in this, like in the city, Spire, where everything comes to, you'd be able to get as much as you can, but no, we have to work for it. You have to like just get things done. And Gaz is like, Daz, we have to go. But Daz is like, no, come on. We're here to commiserate with a fellow country person who knows about our struggle. We can spare her as much time as we can. We're not in a hurry, Gaz. And Gaz is like, we kind of are.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we could have all of it that we wanted, right? It's the offer. They just don't want us to have it. They say it makes us degenerate and lazy. They just don't know. It's our culture. It's our lifeblood. It keeps us going. They are keeping us down by taking it out from us.
Tell me about it. Dad says, like, even like out of your durance, you're still gonna end up working for the Alfear to some capacity, and you'll still have all their powers on what you do, on what we do. And Gaz is like, we might. Sorry, who are you?
Oh, I'm just a vet that is working for the Azure priest now. And look, Azurite, I cannot find it. That's how difficult they make it.
God, if an Azurite, and this is Daz, God, if an Azurite can't find it in this economy, how do any of us drow stand a chance? And Gaz is like, you stand a chance by standing up for yourself. Now I'm standing up for myself, and I'm saying this is getting ridiculous, Daz. We need to go.
Yeah, brother, we should stand for ourselves and help each other. Look, I'm sorry, I cannot get you that good breakfast, but I can help you somehow. Just someone that is suffering the same as we are. It seems your friend here is a bit nervous. You seem to be in a rush for something. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can do that for you if you need to be in two places at the same time.
Gaz, oh yeah, he's wearing the mask, but you can tell he's like, but you rolled a 9, so I think Daz is like, I'm trying to forget how to like play this out because I think I know what I want to give you. Because again, this is all part of that big old roll. I think he's like, Gaz is like, what? Look, we're not here to meant to do anything strenuous. We're just meant to just get this done. We don't need a third wheel in this. Me and Daz, and he puts an arm around Daz. Me and Daz, and Daz is like, hold on, Gaz. Sounds like this fellow drow woman of ours, she could do with some support and some help. Isn't that what we provide? And Gaz is like, look, Daz, we're foot soldiers. We're not recruiters. We're not here to convert anyone. We're just here to live and make money. That's what we're here for. And Daz is like, but what kind of money? Like I don't care what our leader says, like about patrons or whatever. Like even so what if like the biggest paper in the world is patronizing our group? They're still not getting much. Like we're not even getting any of that good breakfast. And Gaz is like, Daz, shut the fuck up. And Daz is like, no, I'm done. I don't care. I don't care what Jack says. We're not getting anything out of the torch like our other employers. You know, let's just. And Gaz is like, no, I said shut up. And I think Daz realizes what he just said there.
Zephyr just shrugs and points at the torch that she's holding in her hand. Don't worry. It's okay. Don't worry. I cover for you.
I think hold on, let me go. Yeah, let me just scroll up, look at my notes. I think Daz is like, you do that? Well, if you're covering for us, that means you've got to join us or something, right?
When are you guys meeting? I can bring some friends.
Yeah, I think this might be another role because Gaz is putting off some big fuck off energy here. I'd say difficulty is up by 1 now.
The same roll?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 dice.
Because this is like, just one step further from the previous roll.
8.
Oh, come on. That's a come on for me. That's a success. Yeah, I think what you get is, I think I'll just tell you right this. I don't think we'll have to play this out because I want to get to the other folks before we wrap up. Let's be a bit of time. Yeah. So yeah, he tells you like, yeah, they're meant to be meeting up. Probably, it's probably on the weekend, on the equivalent of a Sunday. No, wait, no. Sundown. They're meeting up around tomorrow sundown. That's the thing. And they said that, and Daz is like getting your name or whatever name and said, oh, if whatever friends you bring, you can vouch for them. It's all good. So yeah, you've got that. Yeah. So the main thing you're getting there is that Granite Column is being patronized by the Torch, which is the biggest paper in Spire. Okay, let's run to Dot. Dot, what are you up to?
Is this going to be the last scene?
No, second last, because I want to check up on Vellurion as well.
I think I'll be happy to sort of go last because I wanted to have a scene with another PC, perhaps as we get the story from Aika. And that might be as sort of a good conclusion of what's been happening throughout the day. So, but it's up to you, really.
Okay, yeah. I'm down for that. Let's cut to Vellurion and see what are you up to.
All right, so I was thinking that Vellurion may pay a visit to the NPC Drexer, who is the person who deals in stolen goods, because it just is striking Vellurion that, okay, we're talking about exchanges of weaponry and things like that maybe Drexer, I don't know that I would think Drexer was involved with that, but he certainly might know something about Ptolemy Bay and what kind of transactions are going on between that group and the Granite Column.
Okay. So tell me, where do you meet Drexer and what are they like?
I think I would go to Drexer, who has a shop that is a front. And I, maybe it's something like kind of used furniture or things of that sort, that is the kind of front that Drexer keeps. And so you kind of go into it, and it doesn't look like anything fancy. I mean, it's kind of kept intentionally looking low key. And I think Drexer is used to like carrying on conversations which perhaps make it seem like you're talking about the furniture that he's selling, but it's actually conversations about other things that are being sold.
Yeah, he's talking about. I think the conversation we cut into is like he's talking about like he's waving around this like cigarillo box, and he's talking about like, man, the Knolls really know what sort of cigars are quite wanted in Spire, like the depending on the quality of how they're rolled and or how they're smoked. Them Knolls, they're sharp. That's what they are, Vellurion. And I think the thing is, there are like 2 or 3 people in the store, and what he really wants to do is wants to open a box and show you like the false compartments in the box.
Yeah, and Vellurion, but you say there are other people in the shop, other people looking.
Yeah, I think we can say they walk away as like Vellurion is Drexer is keeping up the facade for the moment, and I think once they're gone, he's kind of like, okay, all right. That's really the most interesting about this is that, and he pops open the back. It's like, well, you can keep more than cigarillos in this bad boy. More than cigarillos. What do you want to keep in this, Vellurion? You must have skeletons to hide. Well, they won't fit in this, but you never know what I got.
Well, I may have skeletons to hide, but I'm more interested in the skeletons that others have in their own closets.
You're never interested in my skeletons, Vellurion. Sometimes I wonder why we're still friends. I just like to know a skeleton or two. I have skeletons, I can tell you.
Drexer, how has business been of late with you?
Vellurion, not to pry on what you've been doing lately, but business has gotten a bit of an upswing, and it might have something to do with what you and your merry friends, when I say friends, I mean your journalism friends, have been up to. But I mean, business goes up and down. I have to be more specific if there's anything you really want. Go on.
Yeah, not that I necessarily want it, but I hear that the weapon business is on the upswing these days.
Okay, here's where I need to roll, because I roll if an NPC knows. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 dice, and that's another 10. So no one fails in Spire, which is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I'm annoyed at this system. I haven't even been able to show you stress. That's how I'm annoyed at it. You don't know what it's like to fail. Okay, all right. So he kind of like says, "You're not planning on some sort of uprising, are you, Vellurion? That doesn't seem to be your style."
No, I'm not planning on an uprising, but I may know of people who are interested in some type of uprising. Just trying to get some information about such things. You know me. All I do is write. I just kind of write stories.
Well, we know how devastating your stories can be. Just so happens that, yeah, in the scuttlebutt of the fencing business, there has been quite a few calls for weapons of the sort. There's that group, and I need to look at my notes again. Come on, internet. You've heard of Granite Column, right? Bunch of penny ante thug boys looking to make their case around the war. They're swinging a lot of money lately. Don't know how, but they've been throwing quite a bit of dough at Ptolemy Bay. Now, here's the interesting thing: Ptolemy Bay are a bunch of snobs. They're a bunch of, they hold themselves to the highest team, but and so they normally wouldn't have shown Granite Column, any interest. But then one of their biggest contributors / proponents gets rather terribly humiliated by a certain story. And here I am wondering, man, if I really need to hurt someone, maybe I should just ask my good friend who works at the Jester's Epitaph. Because seems like you can hurt people more readily than them folks at Granite Column. Ptolemy Bay has a lot of people in cashing into there. One of them was our good friend, the Surgeon General. You've kind of run her out of town for now. But I will say, watch behind your back just in case. But I think he's trying to rack his minds, and ask me a question about Ptolemy Bay. And because you rolled a 10, or I rolled a 10, he'll answer that question.
Okay. Who is the big? He mentioned a big contributor. And who is he talking about as the big contributor behind Ptolemy Bay?
Okay. Well, there's several contributors. One of the main ones was the Surgeon General, who you all blasted horribly. Some of the main ones are trickier to figure out, but he'll bet his life on his or his cigarillo holding case that the big one is someone who's looking into making their money a bit more fluid lately. A certain Elfir nobleman by the name of Hour of the Broad Valley, who owns the Chronicle.
That is very interesting. I wonder what the Chronicle would hope to get out of this. Dealing with weaponry and this kind of shady stuff doesn't really seem like it would normally be the Chronicle's cup of tea.
Vellurion, I thought you were a veteran in the writing business, especially in the writing business in Spire. Subterfuge, skullduggery, that is everyone's cup of tea here. Sure, you've got your revolutionaries who, believe in the cause, but never doubt that most folks at Spire, their motivations are coded in black. Not me, though. I'm very honest, I'm very upfront, as you can see right here.
Well, Drexer, yeah, that is why I always frequent your shop, of course, because I always know that when I'm dealing with you, I'm going to get the straight and honest answers.
Well, let me give you one more straight answer. Well, it's less of an answer, I guess, and more of a speculation. If the Chronicle are throwing it out that they're willing to sell. Oh well, if they're willing to write stories about certain groups getting weapons, and their head is the one helping to sell those weapons, and that means they know something's up. Some sort of need for weapons in the near future. Well, whatever it is, it's not going to involve old Drexer. I've got my cases to sell. You, Vellurion, it seems like you have stories to write.
That is true. And Drexer, let me give you my best wishes and a little bit of good advice. I think good advice for both of us. Let's keep our heads down, and if the weapons come out, let's take our cover.
You'll know where to find me. There's a 10-second pause, and then he angles his eyes to the cabinet to his left, as if to say, like, yeah, you'll find him there when all this happens. Okay. All right. So, Dot, what's the scene you want?
So I think it's sort of almost closing time, and most of everyone is already here to discuss the upcoming issue. I'm sort of if Dot was any more expressive, they would be pacing across the room back and forth, like a tiger in a cage. But instead, it's just war hogging and standing in a corner and trying to not be seen at all. And then someone knocks on the door, and Aika enters. That's the kind of a setting that I thought would be nice. So, is there anyone who would also be interested in the story being brought, or not really?
It feels like everyone needs to be there just so to help put together the edition.
Yeah, but between being there and being interested, there's space.
That's true. Yeah, who wants to be in this scene for now? And then we'll get to the actual talking of the rolling to get this edition. So
yeah, I'm happy to be in the scene.
Yeah, I think Safir is in the scene, and she is very curious about how the layout is arranged on the printing press, because she never seen anything like that, and she's very curious.
yeah, I think Julianne is still there. Poor dear. She's pointing out in a monotone voice. Yeah, that's where we set the ink. That's where we move letters. Although if we had the story, we'd be moving these letters soon.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Vellurion would be there probably in the background initially, kind of just jotting down notes and kind of collating notes that he's been kind of assembling in the course of the day.
Well, so I reckon that this Professor Peabody has been, body snatching and abducting people, sticking their brains in mechanical things, and I don't know, probably also is going to be serving up their bodies as a meal at this new restaurant is opening. I don't have exactly what you call evidence for any of this yet, but I can knock together a quick something if we're short on words.
I think at this point you should all start writing, and fast. Yeah.
You tell me when the knock on the door happens.
As soon as you want it to happen.
Okay. But yeah, I think the door knocks and.
Or maybe not.
Oh.
Wait a moment.
Okay.
No, that was in character.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, at the door, yeah, it's Aika. She looks flustered but very excited.
Todd is a bit jittery, and it almost snatches the story out of Aika's hands. Oh, you took your time.
Well, look, I was very excited. Okay, I want to make sure it was good. It's There's a lot of trust that you're putting on me, Dot, and I'd like to believe I can repay that trust, much like I repay how I've chosen to not repay the trust that my uncle gave me today. But that doesn't matter because your trust is kind of more important. Anyway, I hope that it's good. I hope.
Sort of paging through the story. Look, I can't decide on my own, but I can bring it to the table. Okay. So I'm not sure. Montpellier, help me out.
I think Montpellier is going to kind of quickly have a look over the story as well. Not necessarily reading it in depth. It says, "Now that seems decent to me. It means I won't have to knock up. I won't have to knock up this one right now. We can get off early, have a pint, and well, who knows? I might even actually do some might do some fact checking on this tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Oh, I mean on my story.
Oh. Well, what do you think of this?
Oh yeah, no, that looks great.
Yeah, I roll. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yep, that's vague. I'm gonna ask someone else.
Who do you go to next?
You rolled something?
Oh, I rolled again her bond with you to get the quality of the story. It's a 9, so it's quite a good story. Again, even with just 2 D10s. All right, who do you go to next?
I'm gonna go to the inksmith. That's probably the person to actually ask. So Doc approaches you in a sort of a demure manner. Just clutching the notebook with a pen story.
Dot, what is it that you have there?
I don't know, but can you read it, please?
Sure, I can read it. Could you give me a little introduction as to what it is that I would be reading?
Actually, I can't. I don't know what it's about, except that it's supposed to involve those carriages, those palanquins.
Oh, those palanquins that we were talking about earlier.
Look, I got a ghostwriter, okay? Just do me a favor and begin.
Okay, and so Vellurion takes a look at it, and I look up at Dot and say, Dot, this is rather remarkable. Did you put this together?
Of course not. I already said I didn't.
What is the source of all of this? The writing is quite good, and the information is delicious.
Ika in the corridor.
And who is that?
Why don't you go find out? Cox said.
Yeah, so I would go over to her and
as Dot shadows you.
Yeah,
present in the scene, but passively.
Yeah, so I would approach her and say, Dot just approached me with your story, and it looks really good. Who are you?
Oh, I'm a friend of Dot's. We knew together when they were doing endurance. My name's Ika. I'm a scribe to the Alfir Iliwin of magpies. They're an arcanist and whatnot. Quite a bit cruel, but please don't repeat that. As I mentioned, I'm a scribe. I write. Well, I want to write, and Dot said they gave me an opportunity, and I've tried to take that opportunity, and so I've written this story, and I hope it serves your paper well.
And if we publish this, do you want your name attached to the story?
I think she looks to you, Dot, as if to say like things. You know what what your master does.
So
To
then,
like, yeah.
Dot, the master of single word responses. Pseudonym.
Okay, yeah. Maybe not my real name at the moment. It's well, Dot can tell you about our master.
Okay, well that won't be a problem. There's a long tradition in our profession of publishing things with other names. We could arrange for that. I think this looks like a good, and I say this to everybody. I think we've got a good story to run with. I think, and we have a new writer that is contributing. I certainly have some delicious leads on the granite column, but those could wait. I think that this looks like a hot piece of news that would suit us well.
And you notice that Dot is using a handkerchief to pat sweat from underneath the mask.
I think Ika's doing the same.
Yeah, no, it looks great to me. Next time, love, see if you can work some sex or murder into there. Helps generate a bit more interest. But no, I like what you're doing.
She's noting that down in her
You can
notepad.
fornicate in the palanquin, right?
Sorry, say that again.
You can fornicate in the palanquin, right?
Oh, my internet keeps dropping when you say that sentence. Say it again.
You can fornicate in the palanquin, correct?
I mean, it has to be one of the advantages of having it fully automated.
If you think that would work, she's writing.
I mean, yeah,
sex.
just think how all these Elfo will put those 4 strapping young men you usually have carrying it around to use when
That's not what. Okay.
At least that would keep the employment high.
Okay, here's the thing I probably should have noted when she put the story. She got quotes from the leader of that labor group. Actually, no, your satirical paper, and Dot probably mentioned no. I think yeah, so actually forget I said that. Sorry. I forgot your satirical group. So no, she would have tried to write for your editorial stands, and she wouldn't have talked to the labor group. But I think she'll probably mention that at some point because I let it slip. Okay. So we run out of time. But I do kind of want to see. I want Ludo to at least see how to put together, how to do the edition roll and all that. Okay, so let's do that fairly quickly. So party nominates an editor. Who's the editor? Basically, editor is the one who gets to roll the dice. So Sarge, yeah, you get to take control for a moment. Yeah, so editor declares like the target domain, chairs discussion on lead story, and agrees on the headline. So are you all in agreement the lead story is like this stuff that Ika gave you, stuff on the Palanquin. I'll tell you more about this story. So yeah, it's a piece on automation, yeah, and it's about disgruntled workers. And I think most of what the story is aimed at is, you notice like there is a lot of like not of quotes from like workers that, or not quotes, but like she speaks in a voice of the working class surprisingly well. It's almost like she has a direct connection to them that I accidentally let slip. So most of her stuff is like targeted on let me see. It's mostly targeted on business people and industrialists, like folks who would be. I mean, it's up to you. Like, there's 2 ways I can see this Palanquin story can target. You can target like technology, which is the professor's engineering periodical, or you could target like business and commerce or like the Chronicle, because they benefit from the self-automating palanquin. So it's up to your editor. Who do you want to target?
We should go for something easier this time than the last time.
Look, you lucked out the last time because I forgot a rule. But yeah, no, the editor like.
What was
picks
the rule that you forgot?
There was a difficulty of 1, so you should have had 1 less d10. So it means because you rolled 2 10s and each of them added +1 stress. But the difficulty should have been like 1 less d10, so you could have at least had 1 less 10. So it means you inflicted 1 less stress, which means the tassel could have been barely hanging on with just 1 stress left, because you hit a solid 8. But c'est la vie. So yeah, what's the domain we're targeting? Go on.
Does the article fit the satirical stance of the Epitaph?
I'll say it does. I think it's making not to say it's making the fornication jokes. Maybe Montpellier decides like, okay, no, we can add a bit of, you can spice it up a bit, and
You can hide corpses in these automated palanquins and send them to be dumped in the dark farmers.
Yeah. I think it totally fit if we spice it a bit, because it's about automation. It's about putting workers out of a living. So it can totally fit. Just need to fictionally lubricate it a bit.
I mean, in terms of the target, it sounds like the way it's currently written, and obviously we could edit and embellish it a little bit, but it seems like it would be mainly interested at targeting business and commerce to me in a way, right?
We're gonna lose the dice.
Hold on. Let me double check something, because you defeated a difficulty 1 competitor. So that must change something. Well, yeah, you're gonna lose 2 dice, but if it fits a target domain and fits your stance, I will say this takes place in your local area, so you're still gonna have at least 2 dice.
At least 2, even with difficulty 2.
Yes, because you start with 1 for luck, and well, if you get you'll get 2 if you manage to get all 4. All 4 in the dice pool. I'd say you can totally get that. I'm gonna be nice. So
what the hell? Let's go for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say, is there a headline to this? Because I'll determine if this gets a brutal tag. I know it's a bit of an ask to ask y'all to be witty on the spot, so you don't have to come up with a witty headline.
The orgy of automation. Digital, fully illustrated. Sex, murder, the wonders of engineering applied to the desires of the editor.
How does everyone feel about that? Well, it made me laugh. So yeah, I'll say. Okay, yeah, let's say let's oh, fine, fuck it. If no one has disagrees with that, I'll give you the brutal tag for that. Okay, so yeah, let me look at the start with 1d10. I'd say this lead story fits the target domain, which is business, commerce. So that's what you're targeting. Fits editorial stance, thanks to that fucking headline. takes place within partially your local area. The works are the ones getting affected by this. Difficulty of 2, that brings it down to 2d10. So yeah, roll 2d10. And let's see if tonight's streak of good rolls keep going. So roll, Sergeant.
9.
For fuck's sake. Okay. All right. Roll 2d6 and take the highest.
Six.
God. Okay. All right. So, let me double check.
That's what, 8?
Is it 8? No, I don't think it's 8 because like you only got that bonus last week because you rolled 10s. When you rolled the d10.
I thought that brutal just adds 2.
Oh no! Brutal lets you roll 2 dice when
Ah.
inflicting stress, and you pick the highest.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, I think that's a pretty successful attack on the Chronicle. Unfortunately, you've not defeated them yet, but I think very much people. That's a good thing with satire. It kind of cuts to like a fundamental truth, in that the automation of something like Palanquin would free up for all this sex and whatnot, but not for the workers. No, because the workers will have to find more work. They'll have to find more stuff to do, so they have less time. They're stuck on this treadmill while the Alfir get to like swan around in their self-propelled palanquins and just do whatever they bloody want. I guess that's kind of the feeling I get from at least the paper you all put out. So yeah, not a bad day's work at all. I think when you finally finish editing the story, Julian's kind of like, finally, and she starts setting up all the ink and the press and whatnot, and Aika's kind of looking at the 4 of you, and she's kind of like, so I can keep writing for y'all. I heard that right?
Yeah, sure thing, love. We'll send us what you have, and we'll see if we can fit it in.
I think it might be more business savvy to keep you as a freelancer for now.
Yeah, I do. She looks up her notepad. I do have some oysters in to pick up tomorrow, and then I have to go pet some. Yeah, freelancing sounds good. And yeah, I think we'll wrap up this session because we have gone over quite a bit. So I'm just gonna stop this broadcast again. Thanks, y'all. You've got some ridiculous ideas. You got some ridiculous characters. Y'all are great. I'm gonna stop this broadcast now. Thanks very much. See y'all next week, YouTube.